Welcome to the Real Estate Corner. I'm your host, Shad Bogany, and you're on our anniversary show. We started this show 29 years ago on this date during the Real Estate Corner. And the whole purpose of the show, for those who have tuned in over the 29 years, in and out, is that we thought the African American community needed to know more about home purchasing, home buying, selling, and have a voice that they could listen to. Well, tonight is our 29th anniversary. I've got one of my long-running guests who's a great friend, but someone who supported the show and has made numerous appearances on the show. Frank Lucco is going to be here in the studio with me.
Fantastic.
And we've also got our dedicated studio audience here for Iconic TV, which will appear on Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. So you can catch our show either way. I've got a really special guest in the studio tonight with me. I've got my granddaughter, Belle. She's here in the studio with us. And so if you hear her in the background, I'm preparing you already.
Yeah, that's not Frank.
That's not So we've got Belle here in the studio to work with us, and this is the first time she's probably heard her grandfather on radio, or at least y'all do listen to the show, right? When y'all drive, okay, on Tuesday, okay. So we've got a good audience here, some dedicated people, and we've got Frank Lucco in. So guys, when we started this show, what helped us make this? We started back in KCOH 1990 in August. We were very lucky and blessed to be able to get the Woodlands Corporation to become one of our major sponsors. And the Woodlands sponsored this show for 8 years. And I have to take my hat off to Tim Welbus. Probably our most famous guest that we've had on this show was probably, at the time, candidate Barack Obama. And he called in on the show. He was in Austin, called in, and told us how he was going to handle the crisis that we had, the housing crisis. And he did exactly what he said. We kind of disagreed on who was better, the Rockets or Chicago Bulls a little bit, but he told us what he was going to do, and that's probably one of our most famous guests that we've had on this show. But we've had everybody on this show, from Congressman Al Green. We've had Dr. Smith, who did the informational economic update for University of Houston for many, many years, the forecast. So we've had a lot of great guests on the show. Of course, the one denominator is me. I'm here every Tuesday from 6:15 to 7:15. You can also catch us on 96.9 FM, so we broadcast simultaneously on FM at 96.9, and we also do KWWJ 1360. And I would be remiss without mentioning Mr. Martin, who's been a big supporter of the show over at KWWJ, and the person who started this show, for those who are new, and if you're listening on KWWJ and you're driving in, was Letitia Jackson. We sat down and we had a thought, and she went and made it happen. And Letitia's been such a big supporter of this show over the years, and cannot believe that we started this show 29 years ago. So the numbers here are 281-837-2222. If you got any questions, feel free to give us a call. That's 281-837-2222. Jermaine Freeman is producing the show back at the studio in Baytown. And we've got Crystal Holmes, who's producing the show here in the TV studio. The numbers again, 281-837-2222. You can also catch us on YouTube. And you go to the Real Estate Corner, subscribe to the channel, and you can catch us here on YouTube. So before we bring Frank in, I wanted to talk about 3 quick subjects right quick. 6 things to consider when building a dream home. And Frank, at some point, if you want to chime in, you can, because I know you've built your dream home several times. Building your dream home can quickly turn into a nightmare if you don't go and look at your numbers. You've got to take time, look at the costs that are associated with building a home and what those numbers might be. So when you're building your dream home, look at your numbers. guys, you got to make sure. You know how we go, Frank, and we have these plans drawn up? This is our dream home, and then we take it to a builder or somebody to spec it out, and we realize we can't afford our dream home.
The cutback begins.
The cutbacks begin. Oh, you don't need that closet. Oh, we can cut that third bay garage off. So those are how some of the things that happen. So going by the numbers, that's number one. Second thing is buying the land. So sometimes we get our plans done and not realizing that we have setback lines. We have the lot has to be big enough and wide enough because the city has setbacks. They have an easement back in the back, possibly. Your home has to be so far apart from someone else. So you got to be aware of that. Making sure that you have your land surveyed. You need to have your land surveyed so you'll know where you put your property at.
Yes, an example for that is I have a second house down in Galveston, actually where Shad and I are staying next couple days. And I have a buddy of mine that bought their dream house down there on a canal lot in Galveston. And the sole reason they bought it is they wanted to have a nice big swimming pool in their dream house. And come to find out, you've got to be 1,000 feet back from the mean low tide line, and they're not 1,000 feet back. So the wife is aggravated because she now realizes they've bought their dream house, but she cannot add a pool to it.
So you've got to be careful with your land. Hire the right professionals. Guys, don't always go with the lowest cost. When you're looking to build your dream home, you go out and get references. You want to find out if they're bonded. Ask all the right questions. Ask them to sit and tell you when you come in when you're hiring the right professional, sit down with them, go over your plans, make sure that they understand what you want to do. And I'm going to encourage you, do not go by the lowest price. And work closely with your HVAC company. That's really, really important because you're designing a house. So you want to are you going to be facing north? Are you going to be facing south? How's the air conditioning going to be done? Now with the new E2 windows, they used to put, Frank, you'll remember, they used to put the vents near the windows because that's where the heat's coming in, or the cold, depending on what time of year it is. But now they've moved them back because the homes are so much tighter. So you might want to talk to your HVAC person in that end. Now in the world of designing a green home, that may be something to look at. Or on your green home, are you going to recapture water? I've got a friend who was pulling water out of Conroe to water his yard on it. Then you'll have somebody who's building on an acre of land, Frank, who is using septic tank water and well water to to keep the grass green in their neighborhood.
No doubt about it. LEED certified houses, LEED, and there's now a certification higher than LEED where you can actually not only reduce your utility bills, some people close to zero, some people reselling electricity back to the grid, but the whole point of it is for you to be more comfortable in your house, more green to the environment, and also save a lot of money. And the technology is out there, just like the technology to do a smart home. So there's a lot of new materials and building construction techniques that can make all the difference in the world.
Also, prepare a punch list. And so sometimes when we're building our dream home, we don't think about the punch list. The punch list is where you go through and make sure that the builder did everything they were supposed to do. You might want to hire an inspector. You might want to have somebody, structural engineer, somebody to go back and make sure from the top, from the roof, down to the foundation, go through the attic, have a punch list before you pay your contractors off. And then you go back and say, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. Because once they get that last payment, it's over. In most cases, wouldn't you agree?
It's very difficult to entice them to come back to your house once you paid them off because they're on to building the next one. But we do a lot of litigation support and valuation on construction defects, and it's amazing the amount of construction defects that are in not only existing homes, but the amazing part is how many defects are in a brand new home.
The last thing, I got a couple of more topics, but before I do that, I'd like to really thank our sponsors. We've got Prosperity Bank, Jose Oxy and his group. They've got the best home loan in Houston. No one beats their home loan. 600 credit score they have available to them. 600 credit score, no MI, 100% financing. Can you believe that, Frank?
No, sounds like the good old days.
Yeah, 600 credit score, because and no MI. And for those who are new to the show, MI is the mortgage insurance. And so we've got a lot of that going on with Prosperity Bank and Jose Oxy and his group. And if you just listen long enough, you're going to get their number. And you know, my granddaughter's really wanting to be here on my show. I may have to take her and put her right here on my lap. As you can't see her if you're in your car, but those on Saturday morning and Sunday evening, you'll be able to see Belle, my beautiful granddaughter, who's just I'm so glad she's here. And so, so let's, the other thing I wanted to cover, and me and Frank just talked about this before we went on the air, about interest rates cuts. What are the lower interest rates are gonna do? Frank was just saying, Frank, you were saying you were seeing more refinancing picking up.
Yeah, interest rates are a funny animal. There's been argument for quite a few years now that they've been artificially kept down by political pressure, but low interest rates do make a difference. We have found that people buy houses even when interest rates are high because, let's face it, you have to live somewhere. But when I entered the real estate business in the late 70s, for the first decade I was in the business, we thought anything under 10% was just fabulous because everything was always 10% or more. And then in the late 80s, we went through a period where mortgage interest rate on houses hit 18, 19, 20, 21%. At 21%, it is very difficult to buy a house.
Yes,
because there's just no money left over for anything else. And then once rates finally went back down, we've had, you know, a lot of years now where everything's been under 5 and 4. We had some 3s, we had some 2s, high 2s. And the amount of house you can buy when your mortgage interest rate is 2.75 is also amazing.
It is amazing. The numbers here are 281-837-2222. You're listening to the Real Estate Corner. Guys, you're listening to our 29th year anniversary show. I've got one of my favorite guests, Frank Lucco. We've got a studio audience here, some of my favorite friends and some stunning fans that just, you know, they just had to be here tonight. And so I want to thank all of you guys.
Who could blame them? Who could blame them?
Who could blame them coming in the studio to work with us?
And Chad, congratulations. My hat's off to you. 29 years of commitment. That's absolutely amazing. I do think you're the longest running show in the country, and it sounds like cigars and fine wine and fish fillets are coming your way.
Yeah, we've got to do this and enjoy it. We're here with Frank Lucco. Guys, I will tell you, you know, being on the air this long, think about it. For the last 29 years, I've had to think of a show every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, and the guests. And something that I've learned to do quite well is when I don't have a guest, even being able to talk to myself and to you for an hour. So that's why it's so important. Let me give the numbers out again, 281-837-2222. So what affects with the lower interest rate is going to, as Frank talked about, lowering your mortgage. And I'm going to get this to you, and I'm going to really bring this home to you. And some of you have heard this story over the 29 years. I had a client in my car, asked them about the first house they ever bought, Frank. They told me that it was $35,000. So I asked them, okay, tell me what your interest rate was back then. They said, Shad, it was 18%. I said, well, what's your monthly payment on that? $1,500 a month. That puts it in perspective of why the lower interest rate is so important. Also, interest rate affects credit cards, guys. So you might begin to see your credit card do some adjustments there because a lot of it is based on where the rates are right now. So look for that. Now, the ones that are going to take a little suffering are going to go through some heartburn is those who like to save. You're not going to get a lot of saving interest on your money that you're saving. So what I'm going to tell you, what you're probably going to see is investors saying, I'm going to take this money go in and buy a house, rent it out to some sharecropper, some lucky soul who doesn't understand home ownership, and I'm going to rent that house out because my return on my investment is going to be much higher than me putting my money in that savings account. What do you think, Frank?
Yeah, 0.05% doesn't add up very fast from the bank. I mean, if you have a sizable sum of money, you can get maybe 2.5% if you keep it in there for a period of time. But the reality is, with inflation being what it is, with savings needing to acquire and generate to a level to keep up with housing prices, you've got to make more interest than the bank will pay. So you've got to find other vehicles to invest your money in.
Yeah, and so we're going to see where it goes because the rates are artificially being pushed down now. And what you don't normally see are rates being pushed down when the economy is good. That's the difference. Now, we've seen them push down to bring the economy up, but we've never seen them sustain a good economy. So we'll see what happens on that. So take advantage of it. Those who've been listening to me over the years, I tell you that when Abraham Lincoln bought a house, he paid more than 4% interest on his house. So it is a good thing based on where the rates are now. You should take advantage. That is a huge amount because you're putting more money into the house versus into the interest. Numbers again, 281-837-2222. And before we go to a break, I've got one more topic. Guess what now, guys? You can now go online, buy a pair of shoes, buy some socks, maybe buy a flat screen TV. You check, and then you can go and check on a home and buy a home. Amazon has worked an agreement with Realogy. Realogy is the largest holder of real estate companies. So some of their brands, Better Homes and Gardens, Gary Green, which I'm a part of, Caldwell Banker, ERA, Sotheby's, Century 21, they've come to an agreement. And what the agreement is that when you buy a home through Amazon, they're not selling the home, but they are going to pass you on to this brand, these different brands, depending on who you pick, based on your agents, where you want to go. But they're going to give you up to $1,000 to $5,000 in smart items, things for the home. And to get to the $5,000, let me go ahead and lay this out now. You got to be buying up around $700,000. But minimum from $1,000 to $5,000. What a great partnership because Amazon has everything. So now you'll be able to do that, and all Amazon is saying, we're going to put you with somebody in this company, in one of these real estate firms that can work with you, take care of you. This is a leading edge. Realogy is a leading edge player in the market. They have half the real estate market is their market, and now they're putting it together with Amazon to be able to purchase a home. Frank, did you ever think you see it?
I thought I would see something like it because Amazon is just amazing. I get a package from Amazon every day. If I don't get a package, my hands start to shake. I just love it. The one-click buy, the simplicity of it, going around, getting your car, driving to some store and buying things is just obsolete. When
Wow.
you can just go to Amazon and hit that one-click button, and I think they're taking over the world.
Right. Anybody in the studio and audience using Amazon? Everybody.
There's no Amazon haters out there?
No.
Good.
I know Lisa does everything online. She doesn't do anything in the store. Everything's doing that. So Amazon has come to the real estate market, and what they've done is how smart business people do. You don't reinvent the wheel. You just go partner with somebody and you share in the dollars. So
Share the wealth.
Share the wealth. So they're going to give you anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000 if you buy in regards to, it's going to be all sorts of home items, automation items for your home. All this will be done with Amazon. The numbers here are 281-837-2222. Give us a call. My name is Shad Bogany. You're listening to The Real Estate Corner. We're here every Tuesday from 6:15 to 7:15. Here in the studio with us, we got Frank Lucco. Frank, tell us about your company before we take a quick break.
Real estate valuation and appraisal company. We've been in the business for a little over 40 years. We provide appraisals for mortgage financing, refinancing, tax appeals, construction defects. We do a lot of valuation for litigation. We do appraisals for CPAs, accountants, individual property owners. Our phone number is 281-596-0066. Also have another company there called Acurity Acorn. I'm Acurity Qualified Analytics, and we have the franchises here in Houston, Texas. My partner Mark knocks out a lot of appraisals, mostly for mortgage and relocation purposes, and we've got appraisers running all over town doing all kinds of appraisals.
What's your phone number, Frank?
281-596-0066.
All right, Frank Lucco. We're going to take a quick break. My name is Shad Bogany. I'm host of the Real Estate Corner. I am a broker associate with Better Homes and Gardens. Prosperity Bank and American Title at 5802 Vera Verde is our sponsors. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back with Frank. We're going to get into appraisals. The numbers again, 281-837-2222. And I once again thank my stunning, beautiful audience that are here, sitting here with us, and thank you very much. And we're going to take some questions from them from Frank also. We'll be right back with the Real Estate Corner. Thinking about buying or selling, real estate can be a very complicated process. Finding one, how much can you afford? Get survey, put a home on the market, review the net sheets, taxes, advice on financing, homestead exemptions, advice on insurance, what kind of mortgage, inspections, considering offers, negotiations, submitting an offer, how good are the schools, down payment assistance, title insurance, home warranties, closing costs, final walkthrough. These are the pieces of the puzzle of home ownership. I'm the person who helps put it together and the glue that keeps it together. Give me a call, Shad Bogany. Welcome back to the Real Estate Corner. We've got a caller on line one, and we're going to go ahead and take that caller, and then we're going to get right into our appraisal show. Hi, caller. How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
All righty. Thank you for listening to the show.
Listen to it all the time, and I've been scared to call. But anyway, I don't really want to be on the radio.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, this is how it works. So go ahead and ask me your question, and I'll take care of you. It's okay.
It's okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have been staying in a renting house.
Okay.
I'm a senior citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been renting this house for probably about 10 years.
Okay.
And he said that he would give me a good price, but I think I haven't checked my credit because I'm afraid to.
Okay. All right.
And I want to buy the house.
Okay.
Because I don't want to.
You've been there 10 years. You've already paid for it. And
I know.
You've been there 10 years, and now he wants to sell it to us. So let's try to take advantage of it. So what you can.
Sell it to me. But see, I know if I don't, I'm afraid he's gonna die, and then his people gonna come and put me out.
More than likely. I think you hit it on the head. I think you just hit a home run there. If something happens to him, his people going to put you out because they're going to sell it.
That's right.
So let me tell you what you can do. Call, you got a pen and a piece of paper?
I sure do.
I want you to call 1-844-YOU-HOPP. That's UHOP. That's with Prosperity Bank. And what will happen is that you call and Prosperity Bank, tell them that you like to apply for a loan, and let them look. They've got the best home loan out there. They'll take a 600 credit score. There's no MI, which means that saves you about $200 on your monthly payment every month. And they will, there's no down payment. So call them, and once you hear from them, call me back and let me know, and then we'll take you from there.
Okay, and what's the number again, please?
1-844-YOU-HOPP. Y-O-U-H-O.
Y-O-U.
Yes, ma'am. Y-O-U, U-HOP. Y-O-U-H-O-P-P. And I'm gonna give you my office number, 713-667-1000.
I didn't hear you.
713-667-1000.
67.
667 1000.
1000.
Yes, ma'am, 713. So once you hear from them, give me a call, and then I will guide you on the next step. Because if you can get yourself approved, and if you're being a first-time home buyer, there's some down payment assistance money out there available. But let's get you approved so when you negotiate with him, you can negotiate from a point of strength that you know you can prove. So either I'm going to buy your house, I'm going to buy somebody else's house. So give them a call, and then let me know what they say, and then we go from there. Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm glad you're reaching out and deciding, you know what, it is time to put a flag in this, so I appreciate it.
It's been time. I'm sorry I waited so long.
Well, the rates are low now, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
So she had been renting her house for 10 years and decided that she wanted to purchase it. The landlord's in favor of selling it to her, so she wants to stay there. Great. So now she needs to get pre-approved, and then that gives her strength before she tells the landlord, yes, let's negotiate. The good thing is that when you wave that pre-approval in their face, they know you can buy that house because you've been pre-approved. And if you're a first-time home buyer and you're like the caller that was just here, there is down payment assistance available. Depending on where you are, if you're out in the county, it could be $15,000. If you're in the city of Houston, it could be $30,000. So it's money available out there. Fort Bend is doing $5,000 grants. I say grants, but a soft second on the loan. So there's money available if you want to buy. And by the way, with Prosperity's program, you can combine them with any one of those programs. So you can put the money down even though you don't need to, which brings your payments down. So Frank,
sounds like she's motivated to take action, and actually if she doesn't take action, she'll still be a renter. So she's got to pull the trigger.
right. And the thing is, Frank, you know, she's willing to get in the water. And it all starts there. So many of us think you need 20% down. You think you got to have excellent credit. It has to be reasonably good, but it doesn't have to be excellent. And most of us don't know what our credit really is because we don't ever check it. So let's talk a little bit, Frank, about an appraisal. What exactly is an appraisal? We've got some new listeners. I know my studio audience here doesn't know what an appraisal is. So, but let's educate everybody today on what an appraisal is.
Sure. Well, by definition, an appraisal is an opinion of value. A lot of people get an appraisal report and say that's an appraisal. Really, that's not exactly right. The appraisal is really two parts. There is a development part and a reporting part. The labor-intensive part of an appraisal is the development part. That's the research, the analysis, the going out and seeing the property, everything the appraiser does that leads up to writing the report, which is the reporting part, which is the actual appraisal report that an appraiser might deliver to a homeowner, a lender, a CPA, whatever the function or the purpose of the appraisal report would be. And typically, most people think in terms of a mortgage appraisal report, which pretty much is a report that a lender will order from an appraiser because they want to make sure, just as this caller called in, before they loan money on that property, that there is enough collateral value there, because the lender's looking at a couple of things. Two big components are, one, do you have the credit to make this happen? And two, is the property, the contract price, what you're paying for this house reasonable, so that if, God forbid, you ran into problems, they had to take this thing back immediately, they could at least recoup what they loaned to you because they had an appraisal that said it was worth it.
Okay. So a lot of our listening audience and a lot of the viewers at home on Saturday morning, they get the tax appraisal. So what's the difference between the tax appraisal, because some of us think that's their true value, and then you got the appraisal that you just explained. What's the difference between the two?
I'm called a fee appraiser because I do appraisals for a fee, unbiased, objective, independent. A tax appraiser is an appraiser that works for the taxing jurisdictions. Probably one of the biggest difference. My values don't always go up automatically every year. That's probably the biggest difference between me and them. But basically, my work that I do is more individualized. If you can imagine an individual house in a subdivision, I'll actually go over to that house. I'll inspect that property. I'll measure the property. I'll draw a computerized floor plan and calculate the square footage. I'll look in the attic. I'll look at the design, the appeal, the condition. I'll drive the neighborhood, look at the comparable sales that are in the neighborhood, other properties that are listed, make a comparison, and do a sales and an income and cost approach and write a 35-page report just on one house for a client. Where a tax appraiser, there's a small number of them at any one county. They have to appraise everything. In Harris County, as an example, they're appraising over 1 million houses, 1 million properties every year. So they have to use mass appraisal techniques, which is meaning computers and algorithms. And when they appraise a house, they're not just appraising a house, they're appraising every house in the neighborhood simultaneously and instantly. And they're doing that by cutting a lot of fat off of what I do. They're not inspecting the property, they're not going on the inside, they're not detailing everything about the house, they're not doing the research on all the comparable sales. So it's a quick and dirty approach to getting at the value, and then they use the appeal process to try and balance what they've sent to the property owner, and then they're also in a political machine that's stuck in a tax rate system and a budget, so there's just a lot of differences between what they do and what I do.
All right, you've heard it from the appraiser. Frank is one of the best appraisals here in the city, and if he can't get the value, it can't be gotten, and that's one of the things that I appreciate about him. The other thing I appreciate about him, and if you're appraising property inner city, urban areas, you know, and you're out in Conroe, for example, and I'm using it as an example, that appraiser does not know as much, and as Frank said, you can't just look at the comps. You got to write narratives and things of that nature. For example, I'll give you an example in Third Ward. We've had some special properties that we've sold brand new homes for $150,000. Well, you can't even buy lots in Third Ward for $150,000 right now. But when you see that new home and then you see one that's been rehabbed, and we're asking $250 for it, you want to know, well, what's the difference in the properties? You've got to be able to write those narratives, say what the difference is, because this was a special, I couldn't sell it for any more than $150, where this one here is a regular market approach home. Tell us about Zillow and the Zestimates. How accurate are they? Because I will tell you, some sellers will tell you, Chad, I saw this on Zillow and it said my house is worth this, and it's totally different than what you told me.
I've seen buyers that either the husband or wife has been so fascinated with Zillow that they have lost out on deal after deal because either the husband or the wife hit the click button, looked on Zillow and said, oh, it's not worth what Zillow says. Mm-hmm. Well, again, it's mass appraising, it's algorithms. Remember when Zillow started years ago, it wasn't started by anybody that knew anything about real estate. It was a couple computer geeks. And then when they first came out, their values were way off. They had their tail between their legs, and they actually went off and hired some people that could at least spell real estate. That improved their model quite a bit. Since then, they just paid a team $1 million for improving their model even more. It was a competition. So their goal is to, on average, be within 3 or 4% of what a property is worth. Now, on average. So what does that mean? That means if you put your foot in a bucket of ice water, your left foot, and your right foot in a bucket of boiling water, on average, you're 98 degrees. same as your temperature. But one foot's a lot hotter than the other one, and the other one's a lot colder. So as an appraiser, I can't average out my scorecard. I've got to be accurate on every appraisal that goes out on the door. But for mass appraising and for something like Zillow, they're playing the laws of averages is what they're doing. So I think it's interesting. We call these automated valuation models. That's the name for them. They're getting better. They're using big data. They're using algorithms. They're improving their technique. But a lot of the data they're using is data that's provided them from taxing authorities and other data sources and MLSs. So there's pros and cons to it, but my hat's off to them in that they're improving their model. But I wouldn't use it as your Bible if you're trying to make a lending decision. You need to talk to your local professional appraiser or realtor that's active in that community, that's been inside these properties that Zillow has never seen, doesn't know whether it even has a roof, doesn't know whether there's granite countertops in it, doesn't know if the backyard landscaping looks good. The robot in the sky doesn't have any of those answers. Where your local professional that's a real estate leader in the community knows those answers, and that's where you need to go.
All right. We're listening to and you're watching us, Frank Lucco with Frank Lucco and Associates. He's in the local appraiser here. My name is Shad Bargan. If you're just tuning in, this is the Real Estate Corner. You can catch us every Saturday morning at 9 a.m., 15.10 Iconic TV. Then we repeat that show on Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Or if you missed the show altogether, go and subscribe to the Real Estate Corner YouTube channel. You can catch all our shows right there on the YouTube channel. Tell a friend about it. We try to give you the real deal. So, Frank, let me ask you another question before we go to the break. And I'd just like to get your thoughts on it. How is the iBuyer affecting our business? Because the iBuyer, that property is not getting to the market. And then someone would buy it from before because the seller doesn't want to go through the quote hassle, which is not a hassle, but hassle. And then he goes through the iBuying process, then he realizes it's almost the same process. So how is that affecting values? Or does it have an effect on values at all?
The definition of market value assumes that a couple of things, but several things that it assumes for an appraiser standpoint is that the buyer and seller are both knowledgeable and acting in their own best interest. It also assumes that the property is exposed to the open market. So what does exposed to the open market mean? Well, there's a great debate. We have what they call private sales, which are for sale by owners. Sometimes that works. If you're in a super hot market, maybe it's a builder market where they're tearing down houses, you can put a sign in your yard because the builders are going down your street every day looking for lots. And so maybe at that point it works. Generally, National Association of Realtors has done numerous studies that indicate by using a brokerage firm, a realtor, you actually end up with a higher gross and a bigger net at the end of the day than if you try and do it yourself. So once you have these private listings, these pocket listings, if you're reducing the exposure, you're reducing the number of people that are looking at your property and you're reducing the competition. Well, if you're trying to get the highest price you can get for your property, you don't want to reduce the competition. That's why most realtors are now using every social media tool they can use. They're doing the best they can do for advertising. I've seen Shad's photos that he takes personally of his own listings. They're absolutely beautiful. They look like Home and Garden magazine. All those kinds of tools are necessary to reach the largest number of buyers, which is what you want to do if you want to get the highest price possible.
Thank you, Frank. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the Real Estate Corner. If you're looking for a great title company, call American Title. My good friend Charlene Clancy runs a great team over there. She's got Ron, she's got Eric. They're located at 5802 Valverde. As Frank just said, refinancing is finna hit the market with these lower interest rates. So they're going to tell you to pick a title company. Pick American Title at 5802 Valverde. You know, title companies, it's all about service. The fees are all the same. It is truly, truly all about service. Give her a call. Her number is 713-784-0006. And I want to thank Charlene for working with us. She's been a sponsor now 4 or 5 years now, and she's been with us, keeping us on the air. And just want to tell you, she does a great, great job. We're going to take a break, be right back with the Real Estate Corner, and we're going to get into a few questions from the audience before we put Frank on the hot seat on what grows value and what you should put in your home and what you should. Be right back with the Real Estate Corner. Thinking about buying or selling, real estate can be a very complicated process. Finding one, how much can you afford? Get survey, put a home on the market, review the net sheets, taxes, advice on financing, homestead exemptions, advice on insurance, what kind of mortgage, inspections, considering offers, negotiations, submitting an offer, how good are the schools, down payment assistance, title insurance, home warranties, closing costs, final walkthrough. These are the pieces of the puzzle of home ownership. I'm the person who helps put it together and the glue that keeps it together. Give me a call, Shad Bogany. Welcome back to the Real Estate Corner. I'm your host, Shad Bogany. Here in the studio with me is Frank Lucco. Guys, the show, this 29th anniversary show only works really, really well if you call in. And so the numbers are 281-837-2222. I know Frank does a great, great job of explaining appraisals, but I'm going to reach out to our studio audience. They've been quiet. Now they've taken Bill out of the studio. It's gotten a lot more quiet in here, so I'm going to reach out.
I miss her.
You miss her. Well, we're going to see. We're going to reach out to our audience. We're going to let our new producer also in the studio with us, Tony. Tony, want to reach out and see what kind of questions they've got.
Well, I want to go first.
Okay,
Ask a
sorry.
quick question. Had a little buzz in my ear that I should go first. So, question is, first-time home buyer. What's some hot trendy areas in Central Houston? Raising a young family, you know, just want to see what I've heard. Spring Branch, because that's where we currently are at. But you know, just open to listening to.
Right.
Sure, good question. Couple thoughts. Young families, often the concept of kids comes up, and then the concept of school district comes up. So one driving component seems to be school districts, for sure. You can see families fighting over houses in certain school districts because of various ratings or teachers or whatever, whatever it might be. So that's one factor for young families. Another factor is convenience. Do you want to be in a subdivision? Are you looking for acreage properties? Are you trying to get the country life, or do you want to have an urban life? What I typically...
Hold your point right quick, Frank. We've got to take a ID break, and we'll be right back.
Sure.
We've got to take a station ID break, and then we're going to repeat for the radio listeners who did not hear that question.
Got it.
Give us 10 seconds. Thinking about buying or selling, real estate can be a very complicated process. Finding one, how much can you afford? Get survey, put a home on the market, review the net sheets, taxes, advice on financing, homestead exemptions, advice on insurance, what kind of mortgage, inspections, considering offers, negotiations, submitting an offer, how good are the schools, down payment assistance, title insurance, home warranties, closing costs, final walkthrough. These are the pieces of the puzzle of home ownership. I'm the person who helps put it together and the glue that keeps it together. Give me a call, Shad Bogany. So welcome back to the Real Estate Corner. I told Frank to hold that point. For you in your cars, you're listening at home on 96.9 or KWWJ 1360. The question was from our studio audience was, I am raising a young family. I'm thinking about buying a house to start a family, and I want to be not far out, but close in. So the question to Frank was, what's a great area to look at? And Frank was going to give us some points on that.
You had mentioned Spring Branch. For the last decade, that's been a hot area. If you see what's going on over there, there's a lot of tear down properties. Land prices have gone up a lot. New constructions everywhere. The usual 2 and 3 story townhouses and condos all along the Long Point area on those side streets. One key component that seems to drive values more than anything else is the underlying land value. Because what happens is, for a house is like a car. The structure itself depreciates. Yes, you can do maintenance, but you can put on new water heater, you put in new water heaters and new appliances and new carpet and new roof, but the bones itself, you know, the interior pipes, the slab, all these things are depreciating. Often we think in terms of about a 70-year life on a house. And if you look at that, what happens in most cases, as you see values going up and up and up, it is basically the underlying land that's appreciating, not the improvements. So what will happen is, and I'll give you a typical example, if you look at a place like Westview or Bel Air, and you go, wow, how can those prices be that high? Well, if you look at those small little houses that were originally built over there, that are 1,000 square feet, what happened is they eventually became, you know, $500,000 houses. Well, what it was $450,000 worth of land and $50,000 worth of improvements till eventually they were torn down and a big McMansion was built on a $500,000 lot. But the reason they kept going up and up and up and up in value was the underlying land. So that's one of the first things, if I was to give you a hint, I usually tell people, try and buy the cheapest house you can buy and the most expensive subdivision you can afford. You want to be the black sheep of the block because you'll be pulled up in value by everybody else in your neighborhood. If you buy the white elephant, the one that's twice as big as everything in the neighborhood and twice as nice, that house is going to get pulled down in value because everything tends to go towards the norm, towards the middle. Remember the hot and cold water? Same thing in real estate. So buy the cheapest house you can afford and the most expensive subdivision and look at the underlying land value.
All right. We've got another question for the studio audience.
Yes, ma'am. Good.
I have two co-workers. One is upset at her neighbor for protesting taxes, and it made her house, the market value, increase, and she wants it to decrease because she's having a little trouble with the payments. Another co-worker is upset with their neighbor because they protested and she wanted to have her house increased, but because of the protest, it made her house decrease in value. So how does that work where both co-workers are happy? One wants the house to increase, the other one wants it to decrease based on price.
All right, good question. Let me repeat that. So we got two people. One person is upset because the neighbor protests their property, which causes the values to continue to go up. The other neighbor protests and the values go down. So those that are listening at home on the radio, that was the question. So Frank, looked like they don't really understand the appraisal process.
Yeah, a couple things going on here. When you get your tax bill for your property, there's a couple opportunities for you. If you think the number is fine, the appraised value, assessed value, you can do nothing. But if you dispute it because you think it's incorrect, there are really two avenues there. There is the market value, which you might say is a ridiculous number. This is not the right number. I'm going to protest it. The other is called equalization. That's the other solution to you at the appraisal district. And equalization means, by law, you have to be valued similar to other properties in your neighborhood. So if you can say or show the appraisal district that you're not valued similarly, they have to lower your assessed value. If you can show them that your appraised value is incorrect, they have to lower that. Now, the way they would lower it, or the way you would show them often, is you might say, well, the appraisal district has my house as 2,500 square feet, and it's only 1,500 square feet. All right, there's a no-brainer for you. We do these measurements all the time. Draw floor plans, take it down there, show them. They may have your house in excellent condition, and maybe you've had mold or you got foundation problems or something like that. Take photos, document that, get some bids from reputable people, take them down there. There's a way to protest your taxes. The value that the county has on your house really doesn't impact you aside from paying the taxes. Because as a real estate appraiser, I don't care what the county appraised the property at. I'm going out with all the data sources I have, and I'm physically looking at that house, and I'm arriving at a market value. So that doesn't impact the appraiser at all. A real estate broker like Shad, who's doing a BPO or a CMA, what the county has on the house property, he isn't that concerned about it. He's looking at current listings and recent sales, and he's getting his own informed opinion. So you've got to kind of look at it in that you're trying to do two things. One, protest your taxes, and two, continue to have your property values increase. When I go out to appraise properties, it's a bias situation. If I come and see your house and you're refinancing, all you're going to tell me about your home is the good things about it, why you bought it, why the neighborhood's fantastic. If you call me a week later and now you're protesting your taxes, when I get to your house, all I'm going to hear about it's a dump. And I understand that from human nature, but as an appraiser, we're objective, impartial, unbiased, and for the same reason, we don't care what the county puts on it.
And so really what we need to understand with those two people is that you always protest your taxes. The tax value, that's what you're paying taxes on. So you always want to get that down to 100,000, 50,000, as low as you can get it. If you've got one neighbor who's just letting it roll and yours is rolling, you think he's protesting and causing yours to go up because they're not giving his value, you need to protest. Because your house more than likely is a different floor plan than what his floor plan is. So the key is that you always protest your taxes, whether or not you agree or not, and don't go online doing iTax or the protest. They want you to do that. And if they agree with you, then you pay too much, okay? So that's basically it.
Yeah, you can protest in person, you can go through arbitration, or you could actually sue them. You can get a lawyer and sue them. You have three options there. The other thing to keep in mind also is there's exemptions. There's a homestead exemption that saves you money. There's 65 older exemption. There's disability exemptions. There's a lot of exemptions that you need to make sure you've taken action on so you're getting full benefit of the savings.
Frank, we've got 4 minutes left in the show, so we're going to put you on the hot seat. and the hot seat is going to go, what goes up in value? So if I add windows to my house, take the old windows out, put new windows, how much value does that add?
I think at least 70%, maybe 75. That's a hot item. It's fantastic. It saves you money, makes your house quiet, makes your house cool, saves on electricity.
Also with windows, there are several different brands. Do one brand that's better than the other brand, or you look at it from an appraisal, it's all the same?
No, it's all the difference in the world. You can buy windows and put them in your house that are deteriorating before they even get them installed.
Okay.
Or you can buy some really nice quality name brand windows that'll last you, your kids, and their kids, and do an outstanding job.
So
So there's a big difference in quality.
Okay, so appraisal looks at that in value.
Yes.
Okay. Secondly, what about a pool in your backyard for those who like swimming?
I love swimming. My wife is wanting a pool. Texas is a fantastic place to have a pool because we have almost around the year pool usage, but a pool in general is only going to return a small part of the amount of money you spend. Where it will return the most is, and Shad knows I use this example, if you stand up in the corner of your yard on your fence and you look in your other 3 neighbors and they all have pools, you're going to get a lot of money for your pool that you spend on. If you stand up, look around, and nobody has a pool, it's not really an item that's typical for that neighborhood and probably doesn't return much. Also, the demographics of the area. If you're in an area where there's a lot of older people, most of them are already thinking about how can I fill that thing in. So it just depends.
All right, let's talk about kitchen remodeling. What are your thoughts? Does that bring value? How much value does that bring?
It does bring a lot of value, and I think most of the time it can add 50 to 100% of the cost.
Okay.
A good design, here's an example where you just don't go in there and go crazy. It helps to have a kitchen designer. Somebody actually knows. If you get a kitchen designer, if they're good, often they'll come to your house, they'll give you their ideas. Usually they'll give you 3 or 4 different sets of plans, incorporate what you thought you wanted with what they thought they heard, and then merge the 3 together. It's a fantastic way to go. It makes your enjoyment great.
What about bathrooms?
Same thing. Kitchen and bathrooms are the 2 most important parts of the house.
All right, what about the flooring?
It's got to be hard surfaces. Not seeing a huge amount of carpet nowadays. Everybody's liking these tiles that look like wood. They're liking these artificial woods, these engineered woods. Stone is still in. The slate, the granite, the marble, that's still super popular. For a variety of reasons, cleaning, allergies, pets, everybody seems to be moving towards hard surfaces on their floor.
Oh, this is for my daughter. What about a mosquito machine? Does that add value to your home?
Hey, I am in Houston, Texas, and I hate those little bastards. So I'd pay double for a mosquito machine. I actually have one at both my Galveston house and my Houston house. It's not a mister. What I have is a vat that has cedar side, which they don't like, and it blows through my sprinkler system. So I put it on for 2 minutes of whack, it blows through the sprinkler system. That way I don't have to have all those damn jets all around every eave of the house blowing things off. But I like to kill mosquitoes.
All right. So we went over this show. We brought Frank in, and obviously he doesn't like mosquitoes.
I hate them.
And so do I. We want to thank all of you for listening and watching the Real Estate Corner. 29 years, guys.
Amazing.
I could not have done this without all the support that I've had over the years, all the great guests that we've had, all the sponsors who've come in and supported us. My name is Shad Bogany. I'm host of the Real Estate Corner, the Shad Bogany team. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, you should not make a decision without at least calling us. Go out and visit the ShadBoganyTeam.com website. We've got videos. We've got videos of different areas. You ought to be recommending our site to everybody. And by the way, it's updated every 3 or 4 minutes. It's updated with the most current and accurate information because we have a direct feed from the MLS system on our website. So I want to thank everyone, thank the studio audience. You guys are some, y'all some loyal souls, and thank you very much. And it's a check afterwards for all of you, and you all will get a mug. Now, I'm not like Oprah. I can't give cars and Philip Stein watches, but I can.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong show?
I can give you a mug for coming in and being on our studio's audience. And every time you drink something out of it, you're going to think of me. And so I want to thank all of you guys for doing it. Producers, Jermaine. I want to thank Crystal for producing the show. Call us at 713-667-1000, 713-667-1000. And Frank, when we have you, we look like we never have enough time to go through everything.
Thanks for the invite, and good luck for year 30.
Thank you very much. See you next week on the Real Estate Corner. Thinking about buying or selling, real estate can be a very complicated process. Finding one, how much can you afford? Get survey, put a home on the market, review the net sheets, taxes, advice on financing, homestead exemptions, advice on insurance, what kind of mortgage, inspections, considering offers, negotiations, submitting an offer, how good are the schools, down payment assistance, title insurance, home warranties, closing costs, final walkthrough. These are the pieces of the puzzle of home ownership. I'm the person who helps put it together and the glue that keeps it together. Give me a call, Shad Bargaining.